Okay, we're live. Hey, what's up, guys? This is John with Super Deformed Games Cast. You guys know me as at Mr. Negative on Twitter. I apparently can't talk tonight. And this is the second episode we're doing of the Support Class podcast, which is basically I guess, kind of a support group for gamers with anxiety, any kind of anxiety, whether it be health anxiety, social anxiety, OCD, whatever. This was designed to help individuals cope, specifically gamers, and to kind of talk about what we deal with and go over some of the things that make life difficult for us in regards to anxiety. And we actually got kind of a new panel tonight. It's a little short. We may have a few people filter in as we go on. I sent a few invites out. But anyway, so actually Matt, who is a actual cast member on Super Deformed Games Cast, is with us, and I'm glad you're here, man.
Hey, how's it going?
And we've also got Justin, who is at RoboPlato on Twitter. Good guy. Here to talk about. Hey, what's up, man? I'm really happy you're here to talk about some of the stuff you've been going through, man.
Yeah, I'm really glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
And of course, Kev. Kev was here the last time we did this, talking about some of the things he's dealing with. And on camera again, we appreciate that, man. I know it's difficult for you.
But this time in the dark, because my light is bright.
You look like somebody is about to come up from behind and fucking kill you. Like it looks like some kind of that movie. What's that movie? Unfriended. The whole thing takes place on Skype. Like that's kind of what I'm thinking of right now when I'm looking at you. Okay, so we'll go and get started. Hopefully, some more people will filter in here. But anyway, it was kind of a rough week for me. But before we talk about what I've been dealing with this week, I wanted to start with, we'll start with Matt. Matt, tell us a little bit about how your anxiety manifests itself.
Mine mostly, lately it manifests itself in worrying, like excessive worrying. It used to be very social based. Like all through high school, I had a hard time, if there was somebody I wasn't comfortable with, I could not make eye contact with them. I would avoid social situations altogether. I'd just stay in my room, not do anything. The last couple of years, I've, done therapy and talked to my doctor and stuff about that. And I've mostly worked through that. And moving on campus helped a lot with that. Just to, interact with people more often. It's kind of like practice makes perfect. You start talking to people and you just know how to handle the anxiety after that. But lately it is just worrying. Something goes wrong and I think about it all day, all night. I know I can't do anything about it, but it keeps me up at night. I just cannot stop thinking about it. So that's mostly how it manifests with me.
Does that ever cross over into the realm of health anxiety, severe health anxiety? I have, I'm constantly worrying about what's going to happen.
I don't worry about my health, but I think that might be because I do have health issues that I just worry about because I am diagnosed with them. So I don't really have time to worry about things I might have. Mm-hmm. So I just found out yesterday, actually, since I've been 14, I've been talking to doctors about a connective tissue disorder I have. So that's basically just your joints, your heart, and all that stuff is made out of connective tissue. So it just affects all that stuff.
Jesus, man.
And we've been trying to figure out what specifically it is. And then they settled on joint hypermobility, which is just my joints are super floppy. They just do whatever. But it also causes me to be excessively fatigued. And then yesterday I found out it also can be the source of anxiety. And so any anxiety you have on top of that just kind of stacks on top of the natural anxiety you get from this disorder.
Wow, that sucks.
Yeah. It's a grand old time.
Oh, that's fucking terrible.
Yeah.
But all right, cool. Well, I mean, it's not cool, but it's definitely not cool. Okay. And Justin, why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the issues you deal with under
Yeah, so for me, it's kind of how my anxiety piggybacks with depression. I have both, and one thing that really gets me, I think probably the most common thing that anxiety gets me with is sleep. The way depression for me manifests itself a lot is I get very tired. But with anxiety, I can't like properly sleep unless I know I'm going to be able to. So like if I have to set an alarm early for work or something the next day, I'll just be worried about having to get up on time and stuff like that, which means I can't sleep well, which means I'm more tired. And so like that sort of thing feeds off quite a bit. And also right now I'm working 2 jobs. So like Monday through Friday, most days I work 9:30 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. And at my one job, I'm a supervisor. My other job, I'm just a low-level retail employee. So, like, that's also strange because sometimes I feel like totally worthless at the one job and then have all the responsibilities thrown on me at the other one. And the other day, like, I just had a panic attack at my retail job, and yet I still had to smile and say hi to everybody and greet every single person as they came in and out of the store, while like I could feel my heart like just pounding in my chest, and like I was just losing my mind, and I'm not allowed to leave that spot. Like I couldn't even leave for a second. I had to smile and just work through it surrounded by all these strangers and stuff. Like that was rough the other day.
Oh, that fucking sucks, dude. Like, what kind of how long have you been dealing with this? And what kind of therapy are you in, if any?
Well, for me, I mean, I've been dealing with it probably since high school, but like I wasn't formally diagnosed with anything until my senior year in college. I had like for a couple of years been seeing like one of the counselors on campus, which had helped me a lot. But then I was just in a really bad place at the beginning of my senior year. And that's kind of when I got formally diagnosed and they put me on medication and stuff. And that helped me quite a bit. But, you know, it still seeps through.
Like I can't do meds, right? Like I've had a couple guys try to get me on different kinds of medication for my anxiety. And I've got like such, such an aversion to medicine. In a weird way, like I'm constantly worried that I'm sick, but I'm also like not a fan of basically pills or anything like that. Like my wife put a gun to my head and get me to take a fucking aspirin.
Like it's definitely not for everybody. I'm not going to recommend everybody just go on medication and you'll be fine because, well, one, you won't just be fine.
Yeah, but two, like you've also got to find. Well, you've got to find the right kind of medication that works for you.
Like I've had to go through a few things, and like some things worked and then just stopped working. After a while, like I got resistant to it or whatever. So not everything's gonna work like that. But
yeah, I just
like. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I just found yesterday that like there's a lot more nuance to like figuring out the right medication for you than I realized. Like my doctor was telling me SRIs react a certain way with like certain chemicals. So if you have another medical disorder, and you might have to be on an SNRI because it could seriously mess up like some other functions in your body. So like, yeah, you got to really dig in deep with that stuff before you make a decision.
Yeah. I just can't do it. It's one of those things where I've got to deal with it. I've got to deal with it on my own, and whether or not that's a smart decision, I guess is an entirely different conversation. But I mean, it really, like, it took me long enough to get myself in therapy, like I was really, really adverse to that. But Justin, I'm really glad you decided to kind of join us today, man.
Yeah, I'm really happy to be here. This is like one of those issues that I feel very strongly about. So when
it doesn't get enough attention, right? Like I feel like, especially in the gaming community, we don't talk about anxiety enough and how it affects our everyday lives. I myself have had I've had kind of a rough week, but anxiety wise. But before I talk about that, I wanted to ask you guys, like how is everybody, like since we last talked, Kev, for example, like how are you doing, man?
I'm doing better than I was last time. I kind of wanted to, like, after you explain like how your week has been, I think it would be good if we talked about like what our lives are like when it's at its worst, and then also what it can be like when it's not happening.
That's
like,
a great idea.
Where we can be at our best. And for me, the last couple of weeks, I've been getting closer to that, like what it can be like when it's at its best after a long period of it being pretty bad. So
that's a really good idea.
And I want to share some of the actions that I took to help me get there. So yeah, we should talk about that a little bit.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll go over real quick what I've been kind of going through this week, and then we'll tackle that. That's a great topic. So I put on Twitter last weekend, and most people probably saw I had a tear duct infection. And of course, my anxious mind, I was like, oh God, I've got a brain tumor, but I fucking didn't have a brain tumor. But this side of my nose right here was just like pounding with pain, right? And so I ran to the doctor in a panic on Sunday. I went to one of those 24-hour clinics. Well, not 24-hour clinics, but 7-day-a-week clinics. The guy says, yep, you got a tear duct infection. So he put me on 2 different kinds of antibiotics, right? And now here's the fucking crazy part. I went back for a follow-up on Wednesday. Right, I went back in for my follow-up, and standard procedure, they take your blood pressure, right? And it was a long day. I was massively fucking stressed out from this. This was actually Friday. Friday. Friday I went back in, and they took my blood pressure. I was having a really long day. I was fucking, and like, after a week, like there was still like pus and shit coming out of my eyes. So I was like, fuck. I've got something terrible, right? Like something's horribly wrong. So I ran back to the doctor, and when he took my blood pressure, normally my blood pressure is like 110/60, right? Because I'm not bragging, but I'm really fit. I exercise quite a bit, so I've got like low blood, like 110/60. When he took it, it was like 146/92, and I was like, what the fucking fuck? And she says, yeah, it's a little high, but I really wouldn't worry that much about it. Of course, I'm like, fuck, I've got some kind of heart. I've got high blood pressure. I've got motherfucking high blood pressure now. I was like, god damn. And so I fucking flew into a panic over that, right? And like the next day, Saturday, which was yesterday, I went to one of those fucking, it's terrible to admit, but that's the whole point of this podcast, to just kind of get this shit out in the open. Like I went to one of those, the fucking grocery store, you stick your arm in the cuff and it takes your blood pressure. I was there for like 15 fucking minutes taking my blood pressure over and over and over, trying to get it to go down. And it was still a little high, right? And even when I got a reading that said like 118/79, like that still didn't calm me down. I'm like, no, I got to do it again. I got to get it lower. And so I would do it again, hoping for that good result. And of course it would come in at like 130/80. And I'm like, god damn it. And I fell into this really vicious cycle. And it took me, and like the fucking worst part was, Vicky, my wife, she was trying to make me feel better, and I snapped at her. And I felt the rest of the day. I spent the rest of the day just feeling awful, feeling terrible about myself. And it took me up until like last night, like 24 hours of straight hard panic before I finally started to calm down and use the CBT that my therapist has been teaching me, and try to tell myself, you don't have a heart condition, you're fine. And I've done plenty of research on what's called like white coat hypertension. Have you guys ever heard of that?
No.
It's basically white coat hypertension is when you are stressed out and you go to the doctor and he takes your blood pressure and it's spiked, like it's higher than it normally is. That's why it's called white coat hypertension, because the doctor's in his white coat.
Oh, doctor.
Yeah. And I have been fighting the urge all day to go back to the grocery store and start taking my blood pressure again, and that's just my anxious mind talking. And it's just a matter of me trying to tell myself over and over, I don't actually have high blood pressure. I've been to a fucking cardiologist, several years ago, and he said, you got a clean bill of health. You're perfectly fine. So it's right now, it's just trying to put that outside of my head and not worry about it, because I need to tell myself that there's nothing wrong with my heart, right? Like there's just nothing wrong, and I need to stop worrying about it. And that's kind of how my week has been. But at least there's no more pus coming out of my eye, so that's good. And when at the end of the week, when you could say at least there's no more pus dribbling out of my eye, that's always a good thing.
That's a good week.
It is. It's kind of capping off an amazing week. But at any rate, yeah, that's been my week. So I kind of want to drill down into what Kev was mentioning, because I think that's fucking great. That's really awesome. So why don't you start us off, and then we'll move on to Justin and Matt. Kev, why don't you kick it off?
Okay, so I'm going to start with what it's like when I'm at my worst. Like, what do I deal with? What are my problems? when I feel like I am unfit to be seen in public. So like, just to recap from last time, not that like this is any official diagnosis or anything, but I definitely fit the description for body dysmorphic disorder. I believe that there are extreme flaws in my appearance, which I find unacceptable to show to other people, and it causes me extreme anxiety, even though I'm very aware that either they don't exist or nobody would care anyway, and that everybody, you know, has problems with how they look, and it doesn't affect them quite as intensely as it does affect me. So what I deal with when I do feel that way, which is it's sort of periods of strong and weak feelings about it. It could go on for months where I feel like I shouldn't be seen, and then maybe months where I'm okay with it. But when I feel like I shouldn't be seen, I tend to want to hide. And this doesn't mean that like I can't go outside, or like I can't go to my classes, or I can't go grocery shopping, but like I look for excuses to not leave my room. I'll stay up later, I'll sleep less, I'll wake up really late, and like I'll probably miss my early morning classes, and then like fight with myself for an hour or two and be like, nope, Kevin, like, you're okay, you can do this, you can leave, you need to go to the rest of your classes for the day, or you're going to be in a lot of trouble in school. And so I'll leave, and I'll show up at school, and I'll go through the whole parking in the school parking garage garbage where it's impossible to find a parking spot, and then I'll walk across the roof of the parking garage, and it'll be really windy, and it'll mess up my hair, and then I'll freak out for the next hour about how my hair doesn't look exactly the way that I needed it to look when I left my house, and I'll be stressing out so intensely and like constantly pulling on my hair and fixing it in the exact direction that I feel like it needs to be. And I'm like, I look around, like maybe I'll go to the library to do some homework, and I'll look around at all the other people who are in the library, like wondering, like, oh, did they notice that like this one strand of hair is out of place, or like did they notice that like from this direction, if you look at my shirt like this, there's like a white speck on it or something, and like I'll be completely incapable of focusing on the things that I need to be doing. Because I'm constant, like even if I'm just reading a textbook, like I don't know, let's say I'm reading a chapter in my biology book so I can do some homework later in the week or something, I'll stop after every paragraph and look around to see who's looking at me. And I don't know, like it just really freaks me out. Like I can't get anything done because I'm too worried about what other people see when they look at me. And this sort of it builds on itself over time, where like first I'm just worried, and then I'm sure, and then when I become sure, I'll come home and I'll sit in my room by myself at night and think, none of those people wanted to be around me. Just look at me, like these people, there's no way they could like me. You know, nobody should care about me if I'm this way. And then I'll convince myself that everybody hates me, and then I'll convince myself that I don't deserve to exist. And like all of this from like the wind blew my hair around while I was walking from the parking garage to the library. Like just because I don't look exactly the way I think I need to look that day in front of other people, it'll just spiral out of control into this crazy thing where by the end of the day, I wish I was dead. And like, I know it sounds ridiculous, but
No.
that'll
And that's
happen every day for weeks or months at a time until I find some way to climb out of it.
No, and that right there, I think, is part of the problem. And I think, I don't think I know Matt and Justin will agree with me. It's that it doesn't sound ridiculous, and we have to keep telling ourselves that it doesn't sound ridiculous because it's not. Anxiety, whether we like it or not, is a mental illness. That's what it is, and there's nothing wrong with that. We have to call it what it is, and it's not easy to, because there's a stigma around that word. But I mean, it's not a word around that term, but there are many different forms of mental illness, and anxiety is one of them. And so what we need to do is come to grips with the fact that we do have it, and we need to realize that, one, it's not ridiculous. Not a bit of what you said is ridiculous. Not a thing that you're feeling is ridiculous. And two, we have to learn to own it and accept the fact that it's part of us. And while it may affect us in our, every now and then in our day to day, or more often than now and then, we have to realize that it is a part of us. We're not a part of it. Thank you. So that was awesome, and I'm glad you shared that. I want to build on that, and I want to go to Matt.
Okay.
And I want you to do exactly what Kev just did. I want you to tell us what is a day in the life of your anxious world like?
Okay, so I probably should have said in the first part, I also deal with depression. It's just kind of like, I almost forget because the anxiety kind of overtakes it so much. And I've been dealing with that since I was about 14 too. So I just kind of like, it all kind of melts together for me. But for me, when I'm at my worst, I am asleep all day. I just stay in my room. I will skip meals. Like, I will just avoid people. And I like the last 2 or 3 weeks have been pretty rough for me. So I've been skipping classes. I'll set my alarm to get up half an hour early and shower and get ready. And instead I will just hit snooze until 5 minutes before class, get up, go to class, come back and sleep until 2 or 3 in the afternoon. So really it's just kind of avoiding things, like putting that out of my mind. But then even when I'm in bed, just laying there, like unable to get up and do anything, I still am thinking about it. And sometimes the worry actually like has physical effects on me other than the fatigue. Like, I'll get achy if I get like very, very anxious. And it also manifests itself in like my behavior. Like, I get very, very angry. Like, if people who know me like know that I'm a pretty mellow person, but I will snap like on a dime when I'm anxious.
Which is fucking crazy because I can't imagine you snapping at everybody, like, or at anybody. Like, you're such a chill guy, dude.
Yeah, it happened a couple of days ago. I'm dealing with a lot of dumb stuff at school right now, and I was at home for the day, and my mom was talking to me, and she said one wrong thing, and I went off on her for about 10 minutes, and then afterwards I felt terrible, but like I just couldn't hold it back because it was so like built up. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you, man. I get angry when I get anxious, right? And I don't want to hear anything. Like, somebody will be trying to talk to me and saying, "Well, have you tried this?" And I'm just like, I don't want to fucking hear it. I say it a lot angrier and sharper than that.
Yeah.
But I can absolutely relate, man. Okay, Justin. Let's keep going. So when you're anxious, when you're dealing with issues of anxiety and depression, what is what is a basic day for you?
Well, my one job, I have to stand in one spot. I do asset protection at a retail store, which means I have to like watch cameras, check receipts, greet people as they come in and out. And like, there's points where I just feel like I'm like in timeout almost. And it's just like, I just need to get out of there, but I'm not allowed to move. So like, I can just feel like inside something pushing in one direction to go that way, something pushing the other way to go there. And then like, all while I'm just outside, just doing that normal job. But like, the thing that really gets me is eating. I've struggled with my weight a lot the past few years because of issues with this. And like, earlier this year, I had lost a lot of weight. I had lost about 40 pounds. And I've gained more than 20 of it back since I've started working 2 jobs because I haven't had time to get to the gym and stuff. And it kind of feeds into just when I don't feel good, like I eat more, even though I know I shouldn't be. Like, it just keeps just over and over and over again because it's like the one thing that like will calm me down for a little bit.
Yeah, I deal with the same thing. I mean, when when I'm going through bad times, it's like it's not just that I'll sleep at the wrong time. I'll also, well, because I sleep at the wrong time and I miss classes, it means I also don't go to the gym, and it means that I also don't prepare food for myself properly, and then I get hungry, and then when I get hungry, I go shopping and I buy garbage, and then I come home and I eat all of the garbage in a day, and then it's like next day, here we go again. Like it's like once I get thrown off just a little bit, it all like everything just tumbles into this terrible pattern. And so like yeah, I know what that's like too.
Hey, real quick, I want to welcome Shane onto the podcast. And man, I'm glad you joined us, man.
Hey, what's up, guys? Can you actually hear me?
Yeah, no, we do.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Cool, awesome. Okay, Justin, you want to keep going, or?
I think that's it for what I had to say there.
Okay, I'll go ahead and give mine, and then Shane, if you want to tell everybody after I'm done, if you want to just kind of get into your anxiety and kind of tell people what makes you tick, and then go over what a day in your life is like when you're dealing with these things. So for me, I'm anxious more days than not, and it's always something, right? Like it's one day it'll be heart palpitations, and I'm constantly worried about my heart. Like I'll feel it, I'm like, shit, is this the one? Is this the big one, right? And then when I finally come to grips with that, my subconscious mind will throw something else at me, like, well, okay, that didn't stick, but I'm going to get you, motherfucker. So I'm going to try this, like I'll give you a muscle twitch in my hand, right? And all of a sudden I've got ALS, and that's my world. All of a sudden, is I'm dealing with ALS coming on, and what's it going to be like for my wife having to try to take care of me, and where am I going to be 5 years from now when I'm fucking sitting in a wheelchair, drinking out of eating my food through a straw. But eventually that'll pass, and then my subconscious mind says, okay, well, that didn't work. Let's throw something else at you. Let's throw something else. And as a result, I feel it's like sensory overload. So I start getting overwhelmed. I start getting angry. A really good example is yesterday, when I was terrified that I had high blood pressure, and I was worried about it all day. I shut myself in the basement. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to talk to my wife. Didn't want to fuck around with my dogs. I was lashing out and snapping. I snapped at my wife, and then I just left the house and I drove around for a while. The entire time I was thinking to myself, what if it's true? What if I do have high blood pressure, which I know I don't. I know now that I don't, but it's almost like when it happens, I'm not myself anymore. Like I'm outside myself watching somebody else drive me, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah, like I feel like almost like possessed by this other force when it happens. I don't feel like myself, and then when it goes away, and that fog clears, and I'm able to think rationally again, and tell myself, no, I don't have high blood pressure. I look at the way I acted while I was anxious, and I either feel ashamed, guilty, or furious. Not at myself, not at anybody else. Sometimes a mixture of all three, and it's just a cycle that repeats itself and repeats itself and repeats itself, and I don't feel like there's any reprieve from it. And it affects my sleep too. Like I don't sleep well. I haven't slept well in years. I usually get about 6.5 hours sleep since I've sleep at night. I know that's for most people it seems like a lot. Like I know there are some anxious people who don't sleep at 3 or 4 hours a night, but I'm one of those people who needs 7 or 8 hours of sleep. I just needed to be cognizant, and so as a result, I feel like I'm kind of floating every day. I'll get randomly lightheaded, both from lack of sleep and anxiety. And so that's kind of a day-to-day to me. Shane, why don't you talk about your anxiety just a minute, and what it's like for you on a daily basis?
All right. Well, for me, I guess it's been lasting. I guess it only started really like a few years ago. I don't know. I guess it was just build-up of stress and stuff, and just one day at work, I was sitting there and I don't know. I thought I was having a heart attack. I actually had to go to the hospital, like check myself into like the emergency room and stuff. And that was kind of embarrassing, like when they told me that it was like I'm totally fine. And I don't know, it was just weird, because then it started happening like frequently after that, like every day. Like I just get like the heart palpitations, and then like I don't know, I just felt like everything was like blanking out. Like it's hard to describe. Like it's like I couldn't process a thought, couldn't think straight. Like just I don't know. It was just like a total overwhelming feeling, and then it started happening all the time, and then it started affecting like my relationship with my girlfriend and stuff like that. Like she didn't know how to handle it. She thought it was weird. Like I'd be sitting there playing video games, you know, and then all of a sudden I'd put the controller down and get up and start like walking back through the house feeling like I was gonna faint or something. And I don't know. I guess it's like almost like I'm a hypochondriac or something, I guess. Like I always feel like I'm sick or I'm dying or something.
Yeah, that's exactly that's me in a nutshell, dude. That's me in a fucking nutshell.
Yeah, and it's always the same thing. Like I'll feel like a lump on my arm or something, you know, and I'll be like, "What the hell is that?"
Yeah, I've been there, dude. I've been there, like obsessively checking my lymph nodes.
Yeah, I've done that.
Yeah, like, and I don't even like. And the fucked up thing is I don't even know what the fuck to feel. Like I'm just like, where's my lymph nodes at? Like are they there? And then I think I'll feel one, and I'm like, is that a bump on my collarbone, or is that a fucking lymph node? Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
It's just horrible. So I've been to the hospital like 3 times for it, and then like every time they do all like I got like the ECG done, and I got like I don't know. They're always checking my lungs, checking everything, and then they're telling me like, "Yo, you're fine," you know.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, I don't feel fine, you know. And so I've just been kind of dealing with it, you know. Like it's like sometimes it comes on. It's really like I have it like every day for like months, and then I go. And then it feels like it kind of goes away for a bit, and then it always just seems to creep back. And I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's why I'm proud of you guys coming on and talking about it, because you know, even though it may feel embarrassing, like it's not. And it took me a long time to come to grips with the fact that there's actually, I mean, there's no shame in this, right? Like I would go to the hospital because I would think that there was something wrong with me. And then like somebody would call me like, "Hey John, man, like where you at, dude?" And I'm like lying in a fucking hospital bed with an IV in my arm.
Yeah.
And for no fucking reason, I find out an hour later, and I'm like, and I don't want to tell that person. I'm like, "Oh, you know, I'm just chilling, man. I'm chilling at home, playing some fucking video games, bro. You know, yeah." And then the nurse comes in. I'm like, "Hey, man, I gotta go." And you know, it makes me like, it almost gives me that feeling of guilt, you know, like there are real people out there who are actually sick. I'm taking this nurse away from them, you know, just to reassure myself, you know, and it just, it sucks, man.
Like it started getting so bad with like, because when it happens, like when I get like a really bad anxiety attack or whatever, it feels like you're gonna fucking die. Like it honestly feels like you're gonna die. And
Yep,
like, and I started living in fear of it, you know, like every time I'd start getting a little bit worked up or something, like I just start getting like terrified that it's gonna happen, you know, and like just, and then living like that for like, I guess with me it's only been, well, it's probably been about like 3 or 4 years, but like in that time it was enough to like it started making me feel depressed and stuff, you know, like and it started turning into social shit because like I couldn't go out with groups of friends and stuff like that because like I'd have a panic attack while I'm with friends and shit, you know, and it was just, I don't know.
Yeah, no, dude, I completely understand, man. Like, dude, like yesterday, when I, you know, after I had that blood pressure spike, you know, because I was stressed out at the doctor and it just happened to come out high. Even though the next day, like when I took my blood pressure, and you know, if it came in like, you know, 120 over, you know, 80, and then like, you know, 136 over 85, and then I would calm down. It would go back to like, you know, 118 over 78. But like the fucking thing that I did, and I hope you guys don't do this, even though I'm sure some of you have, is like I fucking went to Google and I'm like, blood pressure, and the first thing that comes up is like the silent killer, and then I went into a fucking anxiety tailspin. I was like, fuck, it's the silent killer. It's like worse than bacon, right? Like, and dude, I was a nightmare to deal with yesterday, because the entire time I'm like, I'm gonna fucking drop dead with no warning because I've got high blood pressure, even though like my rational mind was like, if I really had high blood pressure, there's no way it's dipping down to 118 over 78, right? Like if you have high blood pressure, you got fucking high blood pressure, right? That's why, and that's why, and Shane, I'll tell you the same thing that my psychologist has told me. He says, you know, and I had a doctor tell me the same thing actually. He says, you know, a good rule of thumb is bad things don't come and go. Bad things come and they stay. you know, I think about that. When I think about that high blood pressure spike on Friday, I think about the fact that the next day I had 2 different readings of 118 over 70, whatever, and I start to feel better. Okay. Kev, this topic we're talking about, this was your idea, and I thought it was a really good one. So we've all talked about what a day in the life of an anxious person is, just, you know, and talked a little bit about how, you know, what we face, you know, kind of on a day-to-day basis. And there was something else you wanted to hit.
Yeah, it's how we deal with it, and like when we fight it well enough, like how we can be above like the way it affects us, and live our lives in a less stressful, like less anxious way. Like I think you know, anybody who deals with something like this has times where it doesn't affect them at all and they feel fine, and that could go on for a while, and I think that there are ways for us to make that happen through choices that we make or things that we tell ourselves. And even though it might not last forever, like sometime not dealing with this is better than dealing with it all the time.
Okay.
So I have some things that I do that help me deal with it.
Let's hear it, man. We'll go ahead and start with you, and then we'll go to Justin and Shane, and then Matt, and then I'll go.
So like the most immediate thing, and this is like exactly like what you just said, where like bad things don't come and go. Like every time I see myself in the mirror and I'm not happy about what I see, I always tell myself, this is temporary. This is not going to last forever. Like, you know, this is just today, and tomorrow it's not going to be as bad. And even though that might not always be true, it helps me understand that the way I feel about myself in that moment doesn't dictate who I am or how other people see me. So if I can convince myself in the long term that any problem I perceive with my appearance is not something that says anything about who I am, then I can sort of get past it for a little while. The other thing that I like to do is have other people sort of ground me in reality. Like I have to depend on someone else because I can't do it for myself. Like I've tried so many times, especially in the last few months or so, of saying like, Kevin, you can deal with this, you can get over it. Like make a list of things that you need to do every day to make sure this doesn't affect you. Like no matter how hard I try to do it by myself, I always fail. Like I always fall back into the same patterns. And I thought for a while, just a couple of days ago, about the times where I didn't have to deal with this, or the times where it wasn't as bad. And I realized that the best times that I've had where I haven't been so intensely affected is when I have other people around me who help me stick to those things. I've always done better when I have another person who holds me accountable. So I came up with a list of goals or objectives that I want to accomplish that I can't accomplish if I keep letting this control me and all of my actions. So things just like academic success, better diet, better sleeping patterns, exercising more often, like all of those things improve my perception of myself and go beyond like the daily appearance flaws that I think I have. And so if I have people who expect that of me every day, then it's easier for me to do. Like I am more motivated when I know that someone else will be disappointed in me if I don't do it. So I moved recently to a city where I don't know anybody because I transferred schools. So like I was living at home with my family for the last year, and that means like all my high school friends are around, and I got very attached to one of them. He was my gym buddy. He was my best friend. He understood what I was going through, and like he made sure that I always showed up. Like he made sure that I was always doing the right things that I knew would make my life better. And now I don't have that. And so I fell back into this pattern that I had been in the last time I was living away from my friends and family. So I have one of the things that I do here at school is I volunteer to tutor programming students in the intro to C programming class because it's something that I'm very experienced in. So I find enjoyment in helping other people with that. And like those students that I work with have sort of become my friends, and not close enough to understand really what I deal with every day, but close enough to like have sympathy for me if I say I'm having a problem. So I texted one of them a couple days ago, and I'm just like, hey dude, like I think that you can handle doing this thing for me. Here's this problem I have. Here are all of the things that I need to do to get over this problem, or like just to live above it as much as I can. And I need you to hold me accountable. So if I tell you like, I want to go to bed at this certain time every day, like just like text me, be like, hey Kevin, go to bed, stupid. Like, come on, you know you need to do this. Or like, Kevin, how was the gym today? And if I say, I didn't go because I was afraid of people seeing me there, then he'll be like, come on, man. Like, you know you're better than that. Like, as long as I have someone telling me those things and keeping me grounded in reality, then it's so much easier to fight through it and do the stuff that I would normally be too afraid to do.
That's
so,
awesome.
Those are my two things. Convince myself that it's not real as often as possible by telling me that it's only temporary, and second, have a person around you as much as possible that positively reinforces all the things that you know you need to do to get on with your life and not let your anxiety control you. That's
fucking awesome, dude. That's outstanding. Good for you, man. Does it let me ask you this real quick before we move on to Justin. What do you feel like is your success rate with that?
It's I guess the challenge is having that person. So like when I have that person, I can do it 100% of the time, unless it gets like really so in the last situation, I was like sort of becoming this way. Like in the last situation when I was at home and one of my close friends was being that person for me, sometimes I would go to him and say like, dude, I'm having a really bad time right now. Like I just can't deal with it. I need to go hibernate. Like I need to disappear for a couple days. And he'll be like, that's cool, man. Do what you need to do, but I expect you back here like when you're ready. And I'll never let it go on for longer than 2 or 3 days, because I know that he'll be there waiting for me to get back into my life. So like I consider that success. Like even though sometimes I still let it get to me, I always know that I'll still be accountable. Like I still have to come back. You know, I don't let it go, you know, spiral out of control again, like I do when I don't have someone around to keep me accountable.
That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. I'm proud of you, man. I really am, dude. It sounds like you've come a long way from where. I couldn't be happier, man. Like it sounds like you're really taking steps to control this and not let it control you. And that's really good advice, dude. Seriously.
Thank you.
Seriously.
And it's been a thing that I've had to learn over the course of like 6 or 7 years. Of if I'm on my own, it's not happening. Like it's just an automatic failure, and so it's always a new challenge when I'm somewhere new and I have to find that person all over again.
Oh, I want to introduce you guys to a coping mechanism. I'm like, Dottie, did she go back upstairs? Dottie, come here. She like ran back. She came down here. She was like, Dad, what are you doing? Dottie, come here. Come here. Come on. Want to say hi?
Why couldn't it do both of them?
Well, because I want to pull them up. Hi, ladies. These are a couple of my coping mechanisms right here. Why don't you come here? Come here. How you doing, huh? Oh, how you doing? Whenever I start getting anxious, I get a friend here. Come here. Oh my goodness. Say hi. How you doing? Okay, she loves her dad. This is one of my favorite coping mechanisms right here. We have some pretty wonderful dogs, and the funny thing about our dogs is that whenever I'm anxious or not feeling well about myself, they know, and they'll come up and I'll have my head in my hands and they'll just stick their nose and try to force my head up, you know, and it's a really good feeling. They're great. So if you have anxiety, I highly recommend a good dog if you don't have one, go get one. They really help. Justin, why don't you talk about some of the things you do to cope, man?
Well, one thing I try to do, which has been tough with my schedule lately, and kind of why I think things have been, flaring up a bit more, is just like trying to just set some time aside where I can just kind of cut everything out for a while. Every day. Like, I just kind of need a period where I can decompress, especially like with the way, both my jobs go, where I'm, constantly working with other people in busy conditions. Like the job that I'm a supervisor at, I'm a supervisor at a pool at a local school. So there's kids coming in and out all day, parents, coaches, and stuff like that. And it's just people rushing around me all day. I kind of just need that quiet period at the end of the day where it's just, I can just decompress a little bit and just cut everything out. Don't have to be on anybody else's time. And it's been tough lately when I'm working 12 hours a day, and still have to get other stuff done in between. It's been really hard to get to lately.
Yeah. So like, I'll ask you the same question that I asked Kev. Like, how often do you feel like you're able to implement that like in a successful manner? Like, how often do you do this and think to yourself, okay, I've got it under control now?
It's been a while.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, the past couple months I've been working like over 60 hours a week. And so, but before that, like when I was able to get to the gym and stuff too, like that was something that I had really needed to do for a long time. I gained a lot of weight a few years ago, when I was really depressed and really anxious. My mom was actually going through cancer treatment.
Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that, dude.
Oh, she's doing great now. But at the time, it was pretty tough, and I gained like probably over 100 pounds, just because of that. And like, so like when I was getting to the gym and like actually finally doing that earlier this year, it was really good for me. Like, I hate the actual act of working out, but it was nice to have lost 40 pounds at that point. And like, I'm just trying to keep it in the back of my mind that like, I'm trying to work out some schedule things with the one job where I can kind of change things around a little bit so I can get back into that, because at least now I know I can do it. Whereas before I had no idea what was going to happen when I started.
Yeah.
So like having like just a little bit of quiet time a day, and then one thing that I know I can work at that I'm constantly improving with is a really good feeling. And that helped a lot.
Awesome. That's fucking awesome, dude. We'll go to Shane, and then we'll do Matt. Shane, like, give us a really good coping mechanism that you use on a day when you're feeling like particularly anxious about your health.
Like, right now, man, it's learning to breathe.
No, that's absolutely.
Like when I feel like those anxious feeling comes on, sometimes I gotta step aside, and just breathe deep and slow, and I'm just like, I try to slow my heart down, because that's the thing that triggers me the most, is when my heart starts going, then just everything snowballs from there.
You talking like heart palpitations and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I try to breathe, like, to be honest, like back in June, I kind of suffered a pretty nasty head injury, and
I remember that.
Yeah, I was in a coma for a couple days, and I was pretty much bedridden for like a month. Like, I don't know, it's almost like it kind of, not that it like knocked something loose or something, but I kind of feel like it kind of put things into perspective for me a little bit. Like at any time something stupid can happen, and it can fuck your whole life up,
Yeah.
And just
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's not worth sweating all the small stuff constantly, So I don't know. It's been a while since I've had like a full on panic attack where like I feel like there's been a couple times when I've I've like started putting my clothes on in the middle of the night, ready to just drive myself into the hospital because I feel like I'm losing it. But then I'm able to like just calm myself down, like talk to myself a little bit, like, dude, you've been through this so many times, like, you're gonna calm down, just like take it easy, But another couple big things that made a big difference were I used to smoke like cigarettes a lot. I quit smoking cigarettes. Like,
Good.
I used to drink a lot. Like, I drank like every day pretty much. So I quit smoking. I pretty much quit drinking. Like, I'll drink occasionally now. Like, I used to smoke tons of weed, and then all of a sudden, like, the weed started causing anxiety and shit. So I had to cut
Which is
that.
weird because like I work for the government. Like if I could smoke weed, I would, because I feel like that would help me. You know.
Oh yeah, and it did help me for a long time. It used to calm me down, then just all of a sudden it started triggering anxiety. Like my heart would start racing and I'd start getting lost in my head and I wasn't enjoying it, and I was just like, I need to kick that, And then I started going to the gym. I changed my diet and stuff, and like all those things combined have made a big difference for sure. Like I still get anxious a lot of the time, but I feel like I've somewhat got it under control. Like I got lorazepam, right, which is basically Ativan to help calm me down when I'm freaking out. And I feel like if I don't have those on me and I'm like, oh shit, where are they? I almost start panicking.
I can relate, man. I can absolutely relate to all of that.
On me, I'm like, oh yep, I got them. And then it's like almost that's enough to calm me down sometimes.
That's awesome, dude. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, like just honestly, man, just making the life changes for me. Just like the quitting the stupid shit, like the drinking too. I was drinking too much, and the smoking, and that was a big thing. I'd smoke a cigarette, and then my heart would start racing, and I was just like,
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it's gonna.
I think with me,
Go ahead.
yeah, I think with me because it's a hypochondriac type thing. Like it's always my health I'm concerned about. That steps to try to be as healthy as I can, that it's actually making a good difference. And so that's pretty much what I've been doing.
Awesome, man. Thanks for sharing that, dude. Seriously. I mean, these are all difficult things to talk about. But I feel like if we come together and we talk about them with each other and we talk about them publicly, it's kind of like a mental cleansing, so to speak. Matt, why don't you talk about some of the coping mechanisms that you use on a day-to-day basis?
Well, thing is, I don't really have any consistent ones, because I've only really accepted that I had any issue in the last year or two. Before that, I kind of was like, no, nothing's wrong. I'm good. I got this. But then once I accepted, I was like, oh, I've been dealing with this since like I was 13 or 14. And, the source of a lot of it was, I don't want to get too personal. That's kind of the point of this though. So,
yeah. I mean, honestly, dude, you get as personal as you want. I mean, but if you're not comfortable saying anything, then that's totally okay.
I'm fine with saying it. What triggered like a lot of it when I was around 13 or 14 was that when I was 10 or 11, my dad was diagnosed with ALS. And so it's been 9 years since then. He's still alive and kicking. But when I was like 13 or 14, it all kind of hit me and like kind of took away my childhood kind of. So I, fell into depression and anxiety, but I wouldn't accept it until, last year or something. So I never really came up with coping mechanisms. I just kind of powered through it until it went away for a bit. But there's two things that I found work kind of like situationally, depending on what I'm dealing with. And it's either being around people or getting away from people. So like, right now, the source of a lot of my anxiety is the people around me. So I've kind of retreated into books and movies and video games, which is hard because like you don't have that human connection.
Yeah.
But it's also hard because the anxiety and depression can sometimes make me unfocused or just not have the motivation to do those things. So I kind of have to force myself to like, okay, you have to read today. You have to do something to like just take your mind off all of it. And then being around people, like if my problem is that I'm sleeping all the time or just like can't do anything, I have to force myself to go find one of my friends that is reliable and understands what's happening and just be around them. Like, because being around people and talking to them, I feel like I have two friends that know my situation pretty well and know how to handle things. And they don't sit there and they don't go, okay, so you're depressed right now. How do you want to handle that? They just do things that they know will take my mind off things. So I think it's just kind of a matter of forgetting until it goes away for me, and figuring out what will help me forget at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome, dude. How often do you feel that works for you?
Oh, lately it hasn't worked really at all because I've been so busy with school. Like, I've been so busy with school that I can't really find time to do like movies or video games or anything because I'm always working. And when I do, it's like 1 hour bursts here or there.
Yeah.
And those two reliable friends that I have, one of them is in Florida and the other one just had a kid. So like, it's hard to find time with them. So lately, not very often.
One thing, sorry, can I just jump in kind of with a suggestion there?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, like I go to the movies a lot, and like ever since subscribing to MoviePass, which if you don't know what it is, you pay like $30 a month, and you can see a movie in theaters every 24 hours. It's pretty awesome. And I found that like, especially like if I just need some time to like cut everything off, going to a movie theater is like the best way for me to do it. Like, so if you can find a way to affordably do that, because I mean, obviously going to the movie theater isn't the cheapest thing.
Yeah.
A lot of places, like for me, like just being in a theater and like, I can block out my phone. I could block out every single thing else and kind of be there for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always really helped me just chill out for a little bit.
Okay, yeah. I told my mom yesterday, I was like, I think I'm going to go to the movies alone this week at some point because I've never done that.
It's really not that bad.
Yeah, especially if it's in the middle of the day and there's nobody else there. Like, I feel like that would be really great for me. So I'll see Doctor Strange this week or something.
It's good.
Yeah. I can't wait to see Doctor Strange.
Yeah, it looks really good.
I was supposed to go see it today, but I had to fucking mulch my yard instead. Okay. I'll talk real quick about some of the shit that I do. Video games, for one, are a big release for me. Unless I play like the wrong video game, like Dark Souls or something, and I start getting really fucking pissed off. And then, you know, like I'm fighting like, you know, whatever boss, and then I can't win. I'm like, God damn it, you know, and fucking
Give me a panic attack.
Yeah, my heart palpitations kick in, you know, and then I like throw on the controller. I'm like, this was the worst fucking idea I've ever had in my life. But sometimes they really help. Most of the time they really help, but sometimes I'll play the wrong fucking game. What I need to learn to do is when I'm anxious is to not play Dark Souls or to stay offline. And
don't play multiplayer games.
Yeah, because that's a bad combination. But for me, a lot of it, and I would recommend it for anybody who hasn't tried it, is meditation, guided meditation. I do some of that, and recently it's really, really helped. I also journal. I journal. I keep a journal, and I write in it as often as I can. And I don't even really talk about my anxiety. You know, I don't talk about the fact that, you know, I'm afraid that I've got high blood pressure, or I'm afraid that I've got liver cancer, or I'm afraid that I got fucking glaucoma. Instead, I talk about just kind of what happened that day, you know. And it's an interesting thought to think that, you know, one day when my kid is, you know, as old as I am, I'm 36. Maybe he'll go back and he'll read these and he'll learn a little something about me. And so that thought kind of pushes me forward and causes me to write more. So I do that. Exercise is another big one for me, especially like when I'm getting like heart palpitations. I'll like, fuck it, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna work out as hard as I possibly fucking can just to prove to myself that I don't have a fucking heart condition. You know, so I'll go out and I'll run like 12 miles. You know, just and then by the time I'm done, I'm like, anybody who has had, and yeah, I literally mean 12 miles. And then I'm done. And then I'm like, anybody who has a heart condition, like, no. So, and that's one of those things that makes me feel better. You know, is like if my heart is going crazy and I'm feeling those palpitations, I go on a workout, I exercise, and I go at it hard. And then at the end, I'm like, okay, I'm fine. And the heart palpitations are done. They've stopped, and I kind of just go on about my business. And the other one is just hang out with because my wife deals with TMS, which is I can't remember the acronym, but it's basically like it's physical pain, but it's caused by your subconscious trying to convince you that something's wrong. So she has her own anxiety that she deals with, but she is kind of my compass in the sense that I'll go up to her and I'll say, "Hey, babe," and she's like, "What?" And I'll say, like, you know, I'm anxious about this or I'm anxious about that, and I need you to tell me that it's ridiculous. And of course, she's happy to do that. She's my wife, so you know, I'll say, "Okay, so I'm really worried that I've got high blood pressure, right? And I'm worried that I'm going to drop dead at any second." And I'm like, I need you to tell me I'm being ridiculous. And she'll just be like, "Holy fucking shit, are you serious?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'm serious." And she says, "Okay, you're being ridiculous. And if you keep talking like this, no sex tonight." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm done." But she's going to love it if she listens to this and she hears that. Those are some of the coping mechanisms that I use. Do they work all the time? Yeah, sort of, kind of, maybe. It really kind of depends. I have, like everybody else, I have my good days and I have my bad days. Oh, hey, Jeff's in chat. What's up, man? Yeah, you know, so I mean, you know, I think what I'm taking away from us sitting down and doing this is that, you know, we all have different forms of anxiety, which I think is cool. Of course, it sounds like me and Shane have a very similar anxiety issue that we deal with. And you know, compared to some of the people we had on last time, and Kev, you were here last time. We're kind of covering everything, you know, like from health anxiety to social anxiety to, you know, constantly being, you know, worried about the way that people perceive you physically. And I guess the takeaway for me is that, you know, I don't feel as isolated in this as I do anymore, because, you know, this should be kind of a wake-up call to us in you know, in the sense that we're not dealing with this alone. You know, like, we're not the only ones. And I mentioned this on the last time we did the support class, is sometimes this feels just like as lonely as it possibly gets, right? Like I'm the only person in the world who's dealing with this, and nobody else understands where I'm coming from. But that is not the case. That's not the case at all. And Shane, tonight I'll actually send you some. I frequent the Anxiety Zone forums. It's full of people like us who deal with anxiety on a daily basis, and they ask questions there, and other anxiety sufferers calm them down. And it's just kind of like a healing circle that goes around. But I had a friendly retired doctor answer me about a heart palpitation question, Shane. I'll send you his answer. It's very long and it's very in depth. But, like, you know, the bottom line was, you know, no matter when you get heart palpitations, or no matter how often you get them, how hard they are, how fleeting they are, they'll never, ever, 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 ever hurt you, because they are always 100% benign. And then he went into a long talk about why that is and why the cause is anxiety. Because, you know, Shane, I had a cardiologist tell me the curse isn't that you get them, it's that you feel them. You know, he says everybody gets heart palpitation. Everybody gets heart palpitation. Some people get hundreds a day, but they don't feel them. They go through life without ever feeling them.
It almost feels like a roller coaster or something. I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah, I know. It's a crazy feeling. And if you've never had a heart palpitation, consider yourself lucky, because it is one of the most disconcerting things. Like, it's like your heart stops for a minute and then you get this huge thump. And sometimes I get them so bad that I'm like, that it takes my breath away. I'm like, oh Jesus. You know, and I completely understand, man. Like, they can be fucking disconcerting, but I've been getting them for years, and, you know, I'm here and you're still here. But I'll send you that. I'll send you that thing that doctor sent me. It was really reassuring. Does anybody have anything they kind of want to get off their chests real quick before we wrap it up here?
I wanted to say that talking about this last time was the thing that made me brave enough to tell someone about it whose reaction I couldn't predict. You know, like, this guy, I don't know him well. I mean, I only teach him programming and go to some classes with him. And, you know, you don't know what to expect when you tell someone about something like that. And I was concerned that I might be placing a burden on someone that, you know, that they shouldn't have. To ask someone to hold me accountable for all the things that I need to do to fight this problem that I have it's a lot to ask, I think, for someone who doesn't know you that well. And I wouldn't have done it had I not come on here and talked about it with everyone who was on last time. Just knowing that I'm not alone, and I guess just like not being afraid to tell people, because I know that I'm not the only one who deals with it, makes it so much easier to ask for help. And it makes me want to reach out to other people and offer to help them too. So
that's fucking awesome, dude. I'm glad that something like this is able to do that for you.
So thank you.
No, well, don't thank me, man. Thank yourself, dude. I mean, you know, it was brave of you to come on here and talk about this, just like it was brave for Justin and Shane and Matt to come on here and talk about stuff like this. You know, like, it's not an easy thing to talk about. It's not an easy thing to discuss, especially on a podcast where 99% of the people listening you don't know. You know, but if you guys follow the chat at all, I mean, there are people in the podcast chat right now who deal with the same stuff. And we have to remember that we're not alone, and we have to stick by each other. And even though this is something that's not ever going to truly go away, like I said earlier, it's something that we can learn to accept about ourselves. And maybe one day we'll realize, you know, hey, this doesn't own me. This isn't who I am. It's just one part of who I am. And I shouldn't be ashamed of it. All I can do is try to mitigate it and put it away for a while. But I think the ultimate goal for all of us should be to own it and not let it own us, you know, because this by no means should define who we are. You know, we should be defining it. And I guess that's kind of how I feel about it. But so I think the plan is to do one more of these. And who knows? I mean, if people enjoy it, maybe we'll do some more after that. I know that it's difficult to talk about these things, but at the same time, it's therapeutic for me. It's almost like another form of therapy for me. So I appreciate you guys coming on and talking about this stuff and just kind of helping me remember that I'm not dealing with this on my own. Seriously, I appreciate that, guys.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean,
Thanks for having us.
I would actually, I enjoy talking about it a lot because I don't get many opportunities to do so. And a lot of times, when it is affecting me a lot, I have a tendency to go online and just complain. And I know that, like, it never comes off very, very good. Like, I don't want people to see me doing that, but I do it anyway because I feel like it's the only way that I can deal with it when I'm alone sometimes. And this is a much better way to deal with it. And like, whether or not it continues like as a broadcast or a recording or anything like that, I would be for organizing something where we do just get to talk about this whenever we feel like we need to, because, you know, maybe we don't know any people in real life who want to listen to us talk about this stuff, or maybe they can't relate or they don't understand. Because I know what it's like to deal with people who don't believe that you have this problem that you say you have, or they don't understand how difficult it is. And it's so much nicer talking to other people who deal with it. So I would like to continue doing this in some form in the future.
Yeah, so would I. And I'm gonna try to find a way to make that happen in the future. Because yeah, I think it's a great thing what we're doing. And you know, I mean, you guys are all you got, you know, when we do this again, probably about a week, all you guys are welcome to come back on and talk about how you've managed and how you're doing. And I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up there, because it's like I love talking about this stuff, but it's also like it's like spiritually exhausting talking about this, you know, because it's like we deal with it every day, and now we're sitting here, you know, talking about it, and I'm like, oh God, my fucking anxiety sucks. Yeah, I definitely, like, I want to keep the concept going. I don't know if that's going to turn into a regular podcast or if that's going to take another form entirely. But I'm gonna, the intent is to kind of bring a little more longevity to this, because there's been a bigger response to it than I anticipated. We'll go ahead and end it there. I want to thank all you guys for joining. It's not an easy thing to talk about, but I do appreciate all you coming on. Especially Matt, who's actually a member of the podcast, so, you know, or of the Superform Gamescast. and you know, because we do have a regular audience that tunes in, and so Matt, thanks for coming and talking about that stuff. I mean, like I wasn't even aware of some of that stuff.
Yeah, no problem. It's good to talk about because like for years I just kind of ignored it, and you know, a lot of people when they find out they're like, really? That doesn't like, because I just kind of keep everything to myself. So it's good to talk about.
And with that, shit, I just want to we've hit to like 35 subscribers in a day. Holy shit! I just happened to look earlier. I was like, okay. But anyway, we'll go ahead and cut it off there. I think the next time we do this is going to be at some point next weekend. I don't know the exact date or time because this isn't exactly kind of a regular thing. I base it around when I can get on. But I'll send some feelers out to everybody, and I'll try to find a general day and time where everybody can come back and kind of give an update. But thanks to everybody in chat for sticking around on a Sunday evening and kind of hanging out with us and listening to us rattle on about our issues with anxiety. It always helps to have people in the chat, especially people in the chat who understand what we're going through and kind of share our burden. And just don't forget that you're not alone, and you know, we can help each other. You know, we can help each other overcome this. We don't have to let it rule us. And with that, I'll go ahead and cut it off there. Thanks again, everybody in the panel, and thanks again to everybody in chat. And we'll see you guys in about a week.